Welcome to Veteran State of Mind. I'm your host, Geraint Jones. I was going to record the introduction outside today. It's a beautiful day. And for those of you who have been listening regularly, you know by now that we do studio for the episodes. And then I come back and do the introductions at home because I'm trying to get as much time as possible in the studio with the guests. But my neighbour's cutting his hedge. So here I am, back in my wardrobe, or back in the closet, as we might say. Guys, thank you for spreading the word about the podcast. We're growing. We've got more people coming in all the time. Thank you for doing that. If you enjoyed today's episode, please do share it with a friend. If it's just one friend. If you've only got one friend, you've already told about the podcast. Well, how about you go out and find some new ones, eh? Stop being so bloody selfish. Think about the podcast. So go out, meet some friends, tell them about the podcast. If you could make a post about it, that would really help too. And tag us about the post and then we'll share the post. But thank you so much, guys. Really do appreciate it. And thank you so much to the Royal British Legion, who makes this episode possible, who makes all the episodes possible. And that's not all that they make possible. They make other stuff possible too. I also get paid by the amount of times I say possible in a podcast. So what do the British Legion do? They can do anything from financing to helping veterans and their families find housing. They have courses. They got all sorts of stuff going on. Last year, they were instrumental in the 75th anniversary of the D-Day landings. Recording this on Sunday. D-Day anniversary was yesterday. And again, I want to say thank you to everybody. Remember those people who went before us, because we have a lot of youngsters listening. Shout out you youngsters with your smoking balloons and your TikToks. Right. But anyway, Royal British Legion, check them out. rbl.org.uk. Also at Royal British Legion on social media. They do some really good, even if you don't think they need the services, they do really good content. So go and give them a follow on there. Right, today's episode, we're doing something a bit different. I thought, you know what? So many fucking cool guests out there. Let's have a double header. So what we're going to start doing now, it's not going to be every week, but depends how things fall with the guests, basically. But today we've got two guests on who, they're from different sides of the Atlantic, but they remind me of each other a lot. They're very measured. They're quite calming influences. I have a tendency to be a little headstrong, maybe, shall we say. These guys are both very measured gentlemen, very intelligent, and they create, they build. They both have books. They both served their respective countries. I think, I see a lot of similarities in them. And I thought, you know what, these guys will go, it's like, a nice pairing. Imagine you've gone for a fancy dinner and you've got a nice pairing. Well, that's what these guys are. The first guest we're going to have up is Michael Coates. You all know him from the Declassified Podcast. Mike does a lot of great work in general, but we're going to get into that obviously on the episode. And we'll follow him up with none other than Marty Skovlund Jr., long-time guest of the podcast. Awesome to have Marty on every time. He is asked for, he is sought after. He is the editor of Coffee or Die magazine, which is Black Rifle Coffee's magazine. He is a former United States Army Ranger, and he's just a lovely big bloke. He looks like a Viking. Like if you imagine a Viking, right, and then give him like a teddy bear's persona, and he can write. That's Marty. He's lovely. And I'm happy to have both him and Mike on the podcast today. So we'll have Mike first. We'll have a little break where we'll have the veteran-owned companies who make this podcast possible. We'll have a couple of them. Please do listen because they do support the podcast. And then we'll go into Marty. Not literally, but we will go into him. Literally. All right. Without further ado, please give a very warm welcome to Mr. Michael Coates.
Well, I'll put what we just talked about into the episode, mate. We'll just roll from here. I'm going to come back and do an intro. I'll record an intro at home, mate, in the closet.
We're starting now?
Yeah, no, we'll just roll that in, mate, because that's, we keep it pretty chill here down at VSOM. You've already been introduced, mate. I've already bigged you up. But it's funny, mate, because one of the things I wanted to talk to you today is about business and stuff. And what we're kind of saying there is just like, it's about streamlining, it. Everything's about streamlining. When it comes to businesses and things, and I think that's one of your strengths, isn't it? Is that you're really good at streamlining. You're good at I think finding efficiency in it, because it's like I can see behind you War and Pest. That is a really efficient way of leaving impressions on people that we talked about before. We'll come back and we'll come back around to that, mate. But do you want to just fill people in a bit on your background, because obviously with this being veteran state of mind, got to qualify you as a veteran first, haven't we?
Yeah, just make it, I think. So I joined in 2000. I joined as an army apprentice in Arborfield. I joined as a Royal Engineer, and that's all I ever wanted to do as a kid, as long as I can remember. I remember being 5 years old on my 5th birthday and my mum had made kind of combats or lightweights, and I remember that as one of my first memories. Then my brother joined the engineers in the mid-90s, or the early 90s actually, and then throughout school went to Army Cadets. Had the sole kind of vision really of joining the engineers. So Jan 2000, did all that and just loved it. Got totally immersed. I was 16, went through, ended up doing a lot of skiing and playing rugby. So went out to Germany to 3-5 Engineer Regiment. Went on Telic 3 and ended 2005. I just kind of lost the spark for it, really.
Why do you reckon that was, mate?
Well, in reflection and speaking to, because obviously I big wig with loads of generals and stuff now, of course, like you do. Of course,
as you do, mate.
But actually, just chatting to senior officers and people like Glenn Horton and whatnot, and just chatting to them about that time, I think that comms was really poor. Understanding exactly what we were doing, why we were doing it, it felt almost pointless.
Mate, I think you've nailed it, mate. Like, I've just been speaking to our guest. He did Telic 5. So around about the same kind of time, a bit later, but it was like, what is kind of going on? Like, what is the strategy? What is the plan? What is the army for? What are we doing? You know, I feel the same way. I feel like it was kind of like a bit of a rudderless ship in the way, you know, I've always been very jealous of people who are involved in the invasion and had a very clear cut mission in front of them with achievable objectives. Because you're a goal-driven person, aren't you? I think it'd be fair to say, right?
Yeah, very much. Like, I want to know what I want to achieve. Yeah.
Yeah, and I think what we had on our tour, like, it wasn't really quantifiable, was it? You couldn't really. It wasn't like on the first, on the invasion, right? You're gonna move to this phase. Like, there's this phase line you're gonna move to, and you're gonna clear these enemy positions, and you had these like goals that you could break down and say, right, this is what we did. I think a lot of tours, like after that, was spent literally driving around in circles, trying not to get blown up. It seems a bit mad. So you lost that spark, mate. And did you have a plan? Did you have a plan to transition out of the military?
Oh yeah, and I was desperate to join the fire service when I realized, and it was all through that purpose and meaning, really. If you lose something in some way, so you want to go and you want to kind of help people and you want to be around a close knit team, and I felt like that wasn't the right place for me, although I've been totally immersed in it for kind of 5 years. And then leaving, I was totally focused on joining the fire service. And I left, I think it was like on the Friday, and then Monday I had my final interview for the fire service. I gone from like thousands to the final, I don't know, 50 or something like that. And then left knowing, total chip on my shoulder, that's what I was going to do. Totally, I think it was confidence, really, like, always passing courses, always been in the top 1 or 2 with everything I've done in the military. And just the expectation of being 22 years old, going, well, I'll just go in this interview. I'll get this interview and then I'll hammer it. And of course they're going to take me. Why wouldn't they?
Yeah. That's important to note, mate, because one of the things that's always used to fucking piss me off was I was looking at fire service, when I was thinking, what else could I do? And one of the things that pissed me off, people go, oh, thousands of people apply for that. It's like, well, it doesn't matter. I'm going to be one of the ones that gets it.
Well, it was, but then I bombed.
No way.
Yeah.
Well, and why was that?
Not enough prep.
Really? So you were too confident. You're too confident. Right, too confident.
Yeah, too confident. But I wasn't I wasn't arrogant, but it was just this expectation where I'd always been top.
Right.
So when I left, I was like, well, of course I'm going to, it's a gift to me, this. And then you're like,
comes before the fall, mate.
Yeah. And so I bombed that interview, and it was a real learning curve about preparation, because I knew, not knew everything, that's the wrong word, but because I was just up to speed with everything when I was in, what course was going to be the next thing I was going to go on, or what exercise we were going to do or whatever it was. Like I was always there. Then getting out and it just doesn't work like that. You've got to prepare. It's a totally different place to be. They were asking me questions I just could not answer. It was embarrassing being in the interview. And then got the letter. I remember I was in Cyprus actually on holiday. I got the letter and someone opened it saying, "No, you're not in." And then it took me a couple of years about a year to get in after that. And then did 9 years in after that.
I just want to say, where did so I get the running around playing army and stuff. Where did it come from, the purpose, the need of service? Because I'm coming up with one of the things that seems to be, because I know you obviously, you've talked to a lot of vets too, both through Declassified and, just in general. I mean, that's a lot of our friends. And one of the things I'm starting to notice is a lot of lads, especially guys that would be quote unquote high achievers afterwards, a lot of people have been either bullied as kids or had to stand up to bullies for maybe their younger brothers or sisters or something like that. And that seems to have sparked off this kind of a sense of like either this need to protect people or the need to serve people. Where do you reckon that came from within you?
Have I spoken to you about this before?
No. Well, I don't think so.
I got hammered at school.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, I got hammered at school. And you're looking back, at the time I just dealt with it really, like my parents didn't know, but I was very much kind of, I used to drift between groups, but I used to get hammered. Not
so
physically,
so let's just, to clarify to people here, we're not talking drunk, we're talking hammered, as in hammered with bullying.
Yeah, with bullying, with psychological bullying when I was at school. I know we're dancing about a bit here, but and my safe haven, my absolute safe haven, and I was actually speaking with Jordan Wiley about this a few months ago because he's obviously doing the ambassadorial stuff for the Army Cadets. My absolute safe haven was the Army Cadets. That's the place I could really throw everything in. I wouldn't say I was particularly clever at school academically, but I was always, the best at sport. And anything that I enjoyed, I used to throw myself into, and the Army Cadets was one of them. Yeah. So there was definitely the school side of things. I've got a little brother and sister. I've got an older brother and sister as well. But my little brother got badly bullied at school as well, and I remember taking that really badly when I found out. I was about 15. He was 12. So there was that side of things, and that injustice of being bullied. And it wasn't like a bit of piss taking. Like it was, quite savage bullying, especially from his point of view. And then home life, my dad was great, but my mum and dad was divorced. My mum was amazing as well, but my stepdad was a total prick, like a real bully. And certainly that had some role to play. And actually, when you start connecting, when you're older now, like I'm late 30s now, I'm edging towards 40, and you start piecing this stuff together, and you start seeing the traits in people.
You can see the graph, can't you?
This need to be able to look after somebody else. And it's only when you start speaking like this, when you start reflecting, and you get that confirmation off other people. But you look at Des Fraser, who set up combat pest control and Declassified with me, similar kind of thing, really. Not a great childhood, but once just desperate to look after people now.
Yeah, that's me. It's such a common thing. And that's why I always say to people now, it's like, if a young person gets in touch with me and having a hard time, I said, it sucks now, but you're going to be someone that everyone looks up to when you get older. Because I said, and I know, I know that for a fact because I just see it all the time. One of the things I wanted to get into, mate, because it's never something we've really talked about much on the podcast, but I'm a big believer in the cadets. I think cadets is fantastic. Just want to talk us a bit through about your cadet experience, because it's something that we don't talk about much on here. And shout out to all the cadets listening. But yeah, so talk us through that, mate, because I really think it's one of the most, in the UK, I think it's one of the most underappreciated organisations that we have.
And I think, to clarify, it's not, people often think of it as a recruitment drive into the military. It's 100% not that. It is a what's the word? It's I think it makes you a young adult. I honestly think. I think it brings you in to be a young adult. It does, but it's certainly, like the Scouts or like a social group. It's very much that way. It's not a recruitment for the military.
If anything, it puts a lot of people off joining because they think because they do get to have an idea of what it's going to be like, and they'll meet people and they'll get a better idea. So no, I totally agree with that, mate.
A youth club. That's
youth club. Yes.
Yeah. So, I joined just before I was 13. So I was 12 and a bit, and I was desperate to join. And mate, it was like the place for me. It was the perfect fit at the time. Learning drill on Tuesdays and Thursdays. We had a little shooting range where we used to do .22 shooting and really like learning exactly how to shoot. And I just loved it, mate. I just loved every element. And because my brother was in, he'd give me a bit of kit when he came home. I just thrived on it, and just being there, doing map reading, doing field craft, whatever else we were doing on those evenings, gives you a lot of structure. And again, it was like that safe haven for me. I could really be myself there. And again, like going into doing a lot of sport, all the opportunity it brought as well, and that independence, like going away for 2 weeks. I remember the first time I went away for the 2 week the 2 week holiday. And although I was desperate to go, I was 13. I remember being on the phone with my mum and like having to put the phone down and walking off and crying because I was so homesick.
Because you're a kid, mate. But like I think people underestimate how important it is to go away as a kid from your parents and out. And the thing is, at those times as well, mate, you're talking about a phone on the wall there. That wasn't even like, you didn't like, that would have been your call. You're not on texting all day. So now I'm not sure what it's like now. I don't want to comment because I used to help out on cadet camps when I was in TA. And I was a cadet myself, an air cadet, because I thought at the time I was going to be a fast jet pilot. GPMG gunner. I think it's amazing. Like, and the other thing about it, mate, is, I mean, I played rugby and stuff like that. But like some people, you get taken to sports by your parents because like you're going to go whether you want to or not with a lot of sports. I think cadets is one of the first experiences in your life where you're with a group of like-minded people who have chosen to be somewhere. And as you go through life, you keep going like, because when you're in school, you don't have a fucking choice to be there. And a lot of the people are there are dickheads. And you think, oh, this is going to be life. I'm going to be around dickheads that I don't want to be around and everything's going to be miserable. And cadets is that first window to, oh, actually, I can go somewhere with like-minded people. We're on the same kind of mission. We're on the same kind of purpose in life. And as you become an adult, and this is kind of directed to young people listening now, that group, that big school year of 100 people you were involved in or bigger, don't worry about that, because as you get older, your groups, you start to, like that 100 people that you know and that you're around all the time are going to be all people who are on the same path as you, who are great people to be around. And I think cadets is that first taste of that, mate. When I look back on it now, it's how I feel about it.
You analysed stuff really well. And I had an interview with GQ magazine last week. And the one thing we were talking about, mental fitness and mental health, because of when we're recording this, it's Mental Health Awareness Week. And the one thing I kept going back to in all their questioning was that importance of a social network, like a secure social network, a community of people. Because if you've got that, you feel safe, you can problem solve easier, you can express emotions better, you can grow and develop quicker and more effectively. And all of it comes down to this foundation of who you're around. And that doesn't have to be tens of people, that can be a few individuals, but it's so important to get good, positive people around you that are on the same or similar path, but also that will criticize you if you have to be criticized, or tell you, come on, that's not the way to go here, like, and give you an almost a telling off. It's
that, like, because if you're in school and you put out there, oh, I want to be a soldier, or I want to be a fast jet pilot, and all you get is people taking the piss, that will stifle your dreams right there. They won't go away, but you'll feel too stupid to chase them a lot of times. So it's like you need that kind of positive reinforcement around you that your ideas aren't stupid, that your ideas are good, and that you can go ahead and do it and stuff. So what's this kind of like? I'm interested about this. Maybe what's this kind of role you've got with the Army cadets now?
No, I've got no role. I was talking about Jordan.
What? Oh, sorry, you're talking with Jordan.
I was talking to Jordan about it, and how important it was, because he's doing an amazing job. Yeah. He's their national ambassador. I think that's right. And he's doing a great job. And we were just talking about the fact that was the safest place for me to be. And almost certainly that saved me in more ways than one. And it forged who I was, because I wasn't doing it at school. Like my personality and my values, and to an extent not at home as well. Whereas the Army Cadets, that was what really set me up. And then when I joined when I was 16, might sound arrogant, but I knew most of the first 7 weeks.
Yeah, well,
even the first 14 weeks.
It's Billy Basics, isn't it?
Yeah.
But I think one of the things that's underestimated as well is they give you good core values in those places. Like core values, like things like integrity and stuff. It's very important, and not everybody gets that at home. So shout out the cadets listening. I think it's a really good organization, and thank you to the people listening who make it happen, because they're all volunteers. So yeah, thank you guys. So mate, I want to talk to you a bit about because you were saying about transition and you know how you didn't do well. Now I would say you're a successful chap. So how was it that you turned around getting the kind of the no from the fire service? How did you turn things around and start getting that momentum going for you on Civvy Street?
Yeah, I think my transition wasn't necessarily bad, but where you say I got the no, and then I just wouldn't take no for an answer.
Right.
I think it was then I was just dogged, and I had a shit job really for 9 months or a year after, and I was given opportunity to get promoted and earn more money, and I said, no, look, I'm just going to stay right at the bottom here, because as soon as I start earning more, or as soon as I see a place here for me, I don't want to be distracted from what I really want. And that's all I did really. I just grafted. I just worked really hard, and just got as much experience with interviews, with filling out application forms, with doing medicals, with doing everything I could to make a successful kind of transition into what I wanted to achieve. So really, again, it's just about being like vision led. I had a vision, I had a goal, I wanted to achieve it, and what did I need to do to make that happen? One of those elements within that transition period was earning just enough to pay my mortgage and have a gym membership and have a little bit of a life, but not chasing cash, chasing a vision instead of chasing money. And like that wasn't always going to be a long-term plan, but short-term, it certainly got me where I wanted to be. And that's fundamentally what it was. Do not chase cash if you want to achieve something beyond that, because there's really it'll only take you so far.
Yeah, it took me 35 years to realise that, mate. So where did that come from you? Because that is a fucking true realisation that anyone listening now who wants a Lambo or whatever is going here, whatever. But you'll come to that realisation. I know people with Lamborghinis. I know some of them held on to them for a couple of months before getting rid of them because they made that realisation as soon as they picked up the car and signed it. So where did that come from for you? Like, how did you figure that out?
I don't know, but I can remember at the time knowing that I needed to stay a bit shit to get good.
Right. So is that why you need to stay a bit shit, as in the sense of you needed your back against the wall kind of thing? Like you needed like zero options, the burn the boats mentality?
Yeah, I knew that I needed to be in the lowest position within my career to get to where I wanted to be. It might not sound logical, that, but if I wanted to be in a place where I couldn't last longer than the period of time I was in it for. Something that didn't give me any satisfaction or very limited satisfaction, because that then drove me to what I wanted to achieve. It was like that I suppose that suffering really. I suffered in my career for that period of time because I knew that short-term suffering would lead to more longer-term gain. It's like anything, isn't it? You go into a gym, you might suffer. You suffer like these short-term bouts, but actually the more you suffer, not chronically but really acutely, so not over a prolonged period of time, and you're not suffering in misery, but you suffer whether that's you're doing the last 2 reps of a bicep curl to get massive arms. Like eventually you're going to get massive arms if you keep doing bicep curls, and that's what it was really.
That's really interesting, mate, because I think a lot of people, especially young people, suffer with long-term versus short-term. But the gym is one of those ones where an 18-year-old lad can switch into long-term mode. Because, no one's walking out the gym the first day feeling massive. Well, you might feel massive, but you ain't massive. But I think when you're younger especially, it's very hard for most people to think long-term. And then you sabotage yourself by setting I remember, mate, when I was I started panicking in my late 20s because I wasn't a millionaire. Because I'd set this goal for this arbitrary goal of I have to be a millionaire by 30. And when that wasn't happening, it started to panic then. So then instead of doing the incremental steps that will eventually see you success, you start swinging for the fences, because you'll but I hear it off people all the time, that kind of thing. What do you have any kind of methods and patterns? Do you use certain things? Do you do something every year? Do you plan out long-term goals? Do you plan out medium-term goals? Do you plan out short-term goals? What's your kind of thing for keeping you on the track towards your long-term goals?
We try things all the time and fail. With planning, we'll try something. It doesn't quite work according to the plan. We try something else. But I think fundamentally, we've tried, gimmicks.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, let's do this. But I think fundamentally, whether that's in your personal life, whether that's in your business life, you need to be able to go, what do we want to achieve? What's the end goal for this quarter or this year? Or how do we want to bring up our children? How do we want to pay off our mortgage? How are we going to educate the kid? Whatever it is, you've got to know where you want to be. Then you've got to know the financial side of things. How are we going to get there financially? What increments do we need to go through? So that's the overview. Plan where you want to be and then work backwards, I suppose, is what I'm getting at.
Did you teach yourself all this? Sorry.
No, mate. It's one of them. I really don't know that much about anything. So it's although I know a little bit about rugby league, that's not going to get me far anymore. But so I'll seek help and guidance. All the time I seek help and guidance. And even the other day we're planning a new website and how it's going to work and what we're going to do, and we're really much in planning phase. And again, ultimately it just goes down to what do we want the end? What does it want to look like? What do we want to see from it? The back end, and then you work backwards, and then you can kind of figure that way out. But some short-term stuff, some really quick wins for people. Journaling is I found really excellent. Writing something down, and that might be fitness orientated. That might be a savings goal for a holiday, whatever it is. But actually making yourself accountable with writing it down and physically, having a journal. And saying what's good about yourself, saying what you've done today that's been beneficial, and planning your day as well, by the hour almost. That's good. That's proven scientifically to improve your mental well-being as well. Journaling.
Yeah, I think especially
a nice quick win,
especially for veterans, your day, whether you liked it or not in the army, your day was scheduled for you. You can't go from that to not having any schedule at all, because you will. It will not benefit you. You need to have schedule. Now you can be more flexible than the army was, but I definitely believe that by giving yourself a schedule, you allow yourself more flexibility. There's a lot of things out there that are built to distract you. Everything on your phone is there to distract you. Your laptop, there's things, everything that's on Netflix, all that stuff. It's there to distract you. And the further we go down this technology road, the more stuff there is to distract you. And that's how it's always going to be more important to have this structure that's going to allow you to kind of keep on the path and, keep your blinkers on basically and not have this distraction. And one of the reasons I think, I totally agree with you about the journaling, but when writing it down, I'm a massive fan of doing it on pen and paper, because your pen and paper doesn't have fucking notifications to come up to say that Johnny Big Dick has just sent you a fucking photo or something like that, or Susie Sweet Pussy.
Is that what I'm doubting?
Or Susie Sweet Pussy, yeah. You're not getting because I've been there, mate. Oh, go on my phone and do some voice notes, which is in theory a great idea, and then it's bing. ding, and you're like, I suppose I can have a quick look. And then you're like, oh, this looks pretty interesting. And before you know it, 20 minutes of your time is gone. But it's not just that time. The amount of time it takes to then bring your mind back on track is a lot more. Because, like, you know, if you did open those pictures or whatever, like, regardless of what it was, maybe you looked at a news headline. You know, when you go to your phone, it has the news headlines on there. Maybe now 10% of your brain is like subconsciously thinking about that news headline instead of being on the task. You've done a couple of books, mate. I want to talk about how you went through that because I've seen the book. I'm going to put them up. I'll put a photo up and stuff with them as well. People can check them out. It's a really well put together book, and I know we have a lot of people interested in self-publishing and stuff. So just talk us through the whole thing. Talk us through the whole concept and the execution, because I think it's a really cool idea from start to finish.
I'll put some context in. So I left the fire service, and when was that? 3 years ago now. We'd set up a little business, me and Des, doing pest control, so rats and mice and bed bugs and all that kind of good stuff. The what? Sorry.
And PTIs.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, full of pests. And then, but we said, like, what do we want to achieve in this? So we wanted to employ veterans and reservists, not out of any kind of pity or anything. It was all about getting the right people for the right job. And our veteran community were really good, and our reservist community are really good at that. Really good customer service, problem solving, like figuring things out, working together. We wanted to educate and assist children in conflict. So. And we do that. So every job we do, we educate a child in Afghanistan, or we provide building material for schools in conflict areas. But we've also provided loads of drinking water.
How does that work then, mate? How do you do that? Is it like a percentage of each job goes to, like, because I'm sure a lot of companies, like, I think that model is really interesting. So how do you kind of work a model like that? Sorry to go on a tangent, but that's really interesting.
It's fine. We use an organisation called B1G1. So if you Google B1G1, and Masami and Paul who own it, who run it, they're amazing people. They're based out of Singapore, and Singapore is one of the most stringent places in the world to run and operate a charity. So literally every penny is accountable. So it's a really good place, and there's loads of more information. I'll do it an injustice if I kind of try and explain what it is. But essentially, it is the ability for a small business, especially, be able to impact the world in a positive way. And that's what we do, mate. So I just tally up all the invoices at the end of the month, and then and I do it all manually. It's a really nice thing to do. Tally up all the invoices, which is just a small report of some software, and then I just go onto their site and then just type in pay by PayPal. This is how many days. Yep, click, done. And that's how we do it.
Because that comes back into what you were saying earlier, though. Sorry to jump off, but that comes in about what you were saying about the kind of like the protect and serve and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, because there's those days where you're going to, some days you need a bigger picture than the money, right? Like you were saying, like, you know, you other. So I think that's a really cool one, mate. So, yeah, sorry. But
it's also as well, it's this thing where you could easily, when you're starting off in a business, you could easily say, oh, I can't afford to do that. The fact of the matter is you can.
Yeah. And there's always going to be that argument too. No matter what size you get to, you scale to, you're always going to be able to.
Yeah.
Yeah. But like you could always find money to spend. You could always say, well, we could spend that money on advertising or something. Do you know what I mean? There's always going to be other places to put it. But like if you've got to make, it's like if you can't, I think it's Tony Robbins has got one of those. He's like, I think he says the same thing. If you're making $1 a year and you can't tithe 10%, you're not going to do it when you make $1 million a year. You know, it's because it's an attitude thing. You know.
There is, and I go in the book, actually, I say like where this military community and this veteran owned or reservist owned or spouse owned business, like we should be at the forefront of being able to provide assistance to other people in the world through the work we're doing, whether that's sorting out some rats or mice, or whether that's doing a bit of plumbing or writing books, whatever it is. You should be able to assist in somewhere, and you don't have to always advertise it, but actually advertising is pretty good because then it inspires other people to do exactly the same. So there was 4 points to this. Back to the context. So there was the employment side. There was educating and assisting children. We wanted to protect our customer as well, so we wanted to figure out the best way of looking after people. And then we wanted to support injured service personnel. That was right in 2015, I think. And that was raising funds or raising awareness when funds needed to be raised, like they always do. But when certainly awareness in brackets needed to be done. And I'd often speak, or I'd speak everywhere I possibly could, mate. At every single corporate event, at small charity events, I'd be speaking in front of 3 people. I'd be speaking in front of, 30 people that I knew. All the time I'd speak about this vision, about what we was trying to achieve. And then the book really came off all of that. It seemed like the right thing to do was to bring it all in together, to be able to share that information. And it's broken down into 3 major sections, really. It's about like the start and the importance of values and vision. The middle section is about our methodology of what we want or how we operate. And then the back section is all about education and providing, I suppose, like how to not get pests, really, in that back section. So there was 3 areas covered, and it came off that. It was just this need to be able to distribute information, but also, like, from a business point of view, you leave a business card, it might get recycled. There's a highly likely, especially if they don't know who you are, it'll just going to go in the bin. You put a brochure down, it's almost certainly going to get binned. But you leave a hardback or a paperback book down, you get taken more seriously. And no one throws away a book.
Yeah, no, it's very hard to throw away a book. Like, physically, it feels very difficult to throw away a book. Something about it, isn't it?
Yeah, definitely, mate. And that's what we did. So we self-published. And we're not like Times best-selling authors, but that's where the confusion sometimes lies. I don't need that book to generate income by selling it for 15 quid a book. That book's very much a business asset that we give to potential clients, or we sell if we're going to do a talk, especially in front of like a veteran group. We've sold hundreds and hundreds of copies, and it's all been to corporate that want to give it away.
But I think that's what's so interesting about it, though, mate, because I'm continuously trying to make people reevaluate how they look at books. A book isn't something that you like. Not all books need to be on a shelf in Asda when you go in. Do you see the book in Asda? Books can have different purposes. So a book can be a calling card. A book can be a legacy to your kids. Somehow people have got caught up in this idea of if you're doing a book, you need to be trying to get it on the fucking bestseller list and stuff. No, it's ridiculous. That's like saying there's no point in kicking a foot. Like, that's like saying that kicking a football around with your kid is pointless because you're not playing in the Premier League. It's daft. It's that you're doing it for a totally different purpose. So I think it's really cool what you're doing there, mate. And I think more people should consider doing that, because it's. I think anything like that where you've shown that you can do diligent work and put something nice together, that would make me trust the company more, because I'm like, well, they put this together, now I can trust them to put a trap together or something. Yeah. Whereas if someone's coming on, it's like, all right, here's me number. I'm like,
Yeah, don't get me wrong, the number's in the book.
Yeah, no, but what I'm so for people like can't see the screen, I'm on about like when someone just shows you a screen and goes, oh, there's our contact details, like. Yeah, I think, again, it shows something about the permanency of a company. Like, you're like, right, this isn't like Mike has just got a van and a couple of traps and he's doing this, and in a couple of weeks he might go, you know what, I don't fancy doing this anymore. It kind of shows that, like, yeah, we're a company, we're here to stay. There's all these psychological parts of it.
Yeah, but not only that as well, like, there's nothing wrong with that, having a van and some traps or some plumbing kit, or being a £200 public speaker, but it does add value to a company and add values to an individual brand as well as a company or a product brand as well. Like, it adds value, and to self-publish, I reckon from everything, excluding my time, from start to finish, it probably costs to have like 500 copies in your hand, about $5,000. And you start thinking about that as a business asset. If you're a public speaker and that takes you to £2,000 a public talk or a corporate speech, that's going to pay for itself really, really quickly when you put a book down on someone's
Mate,
table.
The book that I'm writing for someone at the moment, he's a speaker, and that's the idea as well, mate. Like, again, you got to look at these things over, like, what is this long-term goals again, mate? Like, that's a bit of money out your pocket now, but that is going to pay for itself many, many, many times over. What I'd like to talk to you about, mate, is a bit about like how you go about you mentioned hiring veterans and stuff, because pretty sure Sean works with you. So how did that disaster happen? No, mate, I want to know, like, to talk us through what you got. What are you looking for in candidates? What should a business owner be looking for when they're taking on people for jobs, in any kind of jobs? Like, what are some of the things that you found to be like kind of core competencies and that kind of thing?
From the veteran and reservist community?
Well, I mean, you choose them for a reason. So maybe explain, like, so what is, because are you allowed to purely employ veterans, or do you need to open up each position to, the wider public? Like, how does that work, for instance?
Mate, I think this is, you're hitting a good point. It's this permission,
Right.
the permission thing. And we sometimes feel like we need permission to do stuff.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I target the veteran and the reservist community for employment. They hit a criteria that I feel that they're the best people for doing that job. Now, we've got a spouse that works with us. She is the best person for that job.
Yeah.
She's actually better than that job.
Right.
Whereas I find, anyone could apply for the roles that we put out. Like, I've literally just before this, the 2 hours before I came on, we've just put some more. I've got 2 more roles to fill. One is for very much targeted at military and reservists, or veteran and reservist. One is targeted at not, because I need someone in that role that might not come from the military, but will have a set of skills. So for me, like, if I need to support the business, I need to bring in the best people for the right job. Now, Sean is the best person to run operations, but and it so much better than anyone else I've come across, because he has skills and values, and he's driven by a purpose, and he's the best person for that job. There's no one else I would take on that would supersede someone like Sean. Whereas, doing sales or direct sales or indirect sales or whatever you want to call it, like, that might not be someone from the military, but that having that person in might well support the business and help it grow. The technician on the ground, 100% as a group of individuals, to bring people in and train them up and get them out so they're working by themselves under kind of like systems and education and all the rest of it. I don't think there's anyone else that fits the bill or comes close as a demographic. But I just use social media to recruit. And if I target people, there's no rules on targeting people.
Just like the headhunting thing. Mate, so what would you say are the weaknesses of the, like, what is generally we have the strengths from the military community when it comes to civilian employment. But what are kind of like some of the weaknesses? Because you said sales, and I could see how that would be a thing, because we're not great at selling ourselves, aren't we? Like, one of the things that always gets me is someone's like, oh, I was in the army, but I was just a grunt. Like, oh, so you had the balls to go and fucking look for IEDs and contact the enemy and learn all these different systems and all that. But it's like, but we're very kind of self-deprecating a lot of the time. So it's like sales, I could see how that would maybe be not like naturally a strong point for a lot of veterans. Is there any kind of like any areas that you think where people could think like those are areas that kind of like they might generally be areas that need shoring up?
I think expectation, especially when guys are in transition leaving, I think that needs to be something that people need to be self-aware of. Like the expectation, like when I said about joining the fire service straight away and going, yeah, I've got this. Like that was I was expecting to get in. And then I see it all the time where people are like, oh, well, I was a staff sergeant or a colour sergeant. I did this. I deserve to have a management role in a big company. Like, why do you deserve that? So I think that starting lower than your expectation is and proving yourself and showing the value you have instead of expecting they understand the value. It's not how it works. Civilian life, it's not how it works. You need to be able to prove it and being able to start sometimes lower than your expectation. I think that's one of the main things. I
think one of the issues as well is the idea, because in the military, pretty much age is like the hierarchy in a sense. So like you're not going to have most of the time in terms of NCOs, etc. You're not going to have usually it's not going to be an 18-year-old in charge of a 20, like a 35-year-old, whatever like that, because the longer you've done, usually the more rank you have in general. So I think a lot of people struggle with this thing of they come out, they've done 22 years, and they can have a 20-year-old in charge of them. But that 20-year-old might know the fucking job inside out and be an absolute wizard at it. And I think that kind of like, I think the letting go of the ego, letting go of the idea that like, I was in the army, I know more. Because it's like, look, if you do know more, it will get recognized.
It will, yeah.
If you do your job. But what will get recognized even faster is if you come in saying that you fucking know everything and like start to ruffle the feathers. I think it goes without saying as well as the ways that you address people, and that kind of like, the like if you were a sergeant, if you were with that kind of sergeant major who used to fucking, he'd see if somebody forgot to add "sir" on every single sentence, you need to make some readjustments to that, because you're going to be on first name terms. You don't like, and you don't necessarily have to be openly hostile, but people pick up on vibes. And if your vibe is that you think that you are, better than the people, that's gonna come through. And I think one of the things that people need to really kind of like look at as a positive is if you have done a while, you got a pension, you can afford to take, like you're saying, you can afford to take like a lower position with like, like less, like, because you've already got some kind of income, so it's, you don't need to be trying to go into these managerial jobs.
Well, I think you hit the nail on the head a second ago and I think it ties into what I said, I don't know, 20 minutes ago. Like, don't just seek cash. Find somewhere where you want to be, or who you want to work under, and then your value will shine through. I think industry needs to switch a little bit as well, and give people a chance a little bit more, because you're not going to leave after 12 years and then fit perfectly in.
No.
Whereas if you get someone who has done 12 years, who's showing promise, who's showing initiative, maybe doing something slightly different, and then going into an organization, especially kind of like bigger business, bigger industry, then you should be given a period of time to transition.
Yeah.
I think the Armed Forces Covenant does a lot for that. I think I think it could be better. I know for a fact it could be better with bigger business. But we're heavily involved with that, and we have been for about 3 years. But hopefully we're leading by example and showing bigger business how it could be done. But I think, that transition period, I think industry needs to be able to give people a chance, especially in initial transition. And I think people leaving need to just lower their expectations, but have a goal where they want to be long term. So again, short term suffering for a long term gain.
Mate, I think the Americans have really got the getting people into industry and stuff. They do a really good job at that. Like, one of my friends, when he, like, and one of the reasons they have like a more successful transition, I think, is because so many of them use the GI Bill to get education on the back of it. So they have military, then they have the GI Bill covering them in education, and then they go into a job. So they've got this transition period where they're exposed to civilian life without going straight into the workplace for a lot of them. I think that's really cool. But, my friend, when he went to NYU, they assigned him, like, there was, so he wanted to go into consultancy. So they find a consultant who's an ex-Marine guy who's already working, and they put the two together and they have phone calls, and they're so fucking good at doing that, dude. Like, their networking, like the networking that the Americans have, like the Marine Corps have, and their alumni is fantastic. And it's something that I think we need to work on in the British side of things, the British veterans community, is to work on this. We really like make use of our network, because people don't just go into working in security. People are all over the place in different things, and most people want to help someone come on behind them into a different, role. So I think we can do a lot more about that. Speaking of which, I wanted to talk a bit about Declassified and how you got into the idea of doing a podcast. And I'd like to talk a bit about podcasting, because not all the time we have other podcasters on. So how did the whole Declassified thing come about?
So when we were talking about that fourth part of the vision, supporting injured service personnel, very, very quickly we realised that injured service personnel specifically could support everybody else, and we're supporting everybody else in society. So a long story short, we said, well, how can we do this where we're not just raising a bit of cash, but we're magnifying these stories. Actually, it was a conversation with Brian Wood in a coffee shop that was like kind of light bulb moment where I didn't know about his story. He told me it. This was about, I don't know, 2.5 years ago or something.
Right.
And we just met, as a network, really.
Right.
And I was like, oh shit, like there's so much value in that. And then all my other mates, like there's so much value, that everyone could use here. If I don't put something down, if I don't create this, then I run the risk of all this being lost. And I'd never even listened to a podcast at that point.
Really?
Never listened to 1 second of a podcast, but I knew it was there. And then I knew someone one of the presenters at LBC. So I asked him for some advice.
Just to our American listeners, LBC is a radio network, right?
Yeah, it's like a talk radio. It's like probably the most listened to kind of just talk radio in the UK. I knew one of the main presenters there, so I said, look, can I have a bit of advice? I'm not sure if this is plausible or feasible. So he said, oh yeah, look, change the name, but you're on the right track here, and you can come and use the studio here. We'll get you under the radar, which I did for probably about 20 episodes.
Right.
And that's where it started, really. But I thought it was going to be like 1 or 2. I thought it was going to be like average. But it just happened that we kind of hit on some of the format, the way we do it. I mean, it's very different to this, and that's the beauty of podcasting. There's different formats, there's different genres, there's different ways of doing things. And again, that was pretty much it. We just wanted to document military stories to provide support and guidance to those suffering from mental illness and injury. That was the initial kind of batch of it. And we said, look, let's get to 10 and we'll bin it at 10. We won't go on from there. And then it just became almost addictive, really.
Yeah. For you yourself?
Yeah, I really enjoyed it. You talk about lack of distraction. Being in a soundproof studio with no mobile phone, with nothing except 2 people, 2 microphones, there's nothing more mindful than that. And I think my time in the military, but certainly my time in the fire service, taught me empathy. And that really helped me with the interviewing and how to piece a conversation together. And then I think we're at, what are we at now? Nearly 400,000 downloads. Last year's British Podcast Award for Best Interview. Was in the final 5.
Is that right? That was with Sean's wife, wasn't it?
Yeah, so that was the episode that got us there.
Yep.
I mean, it was a whole, but that episode was the one we put forward to it, which was an amazing episode. That's episode 16, and then that it just kind of snowballed from there. I think we're 50 odd episodes or 60 episodes of proper, like the Declassified episodes, where it's 1-on-1 or 1-on-2 interviews, and we speak about someone's kind of life and we kind of guide them through. I speak very little in the episodes. It's very much planned where we're going to take it. It's not scripted, but it's planned. We're going to hit these points, and this is the reason. This is the narrative. This is the fundamental reason why we're doing this podcast. Could this help? And it was always in my mind, like, could this episode help a 13-year-old lad getting bullied? If he listens to this, could they know about like trauma? If someone's lost a parent, like how you can become better, how you can have post-traumatic growth because of your worldview being changed by something that has or has not happened to you. And there's no better community in the world than the military community, and there's certainly no better community in this country at being able to use those experiences, piece them all together, and if it's done right, add maximum amount of value to everybody else in society. And you're seeing it now with the NHS. People, professors, psychiatrists, nurses, doctors that learnt their trade, that like developed and grew in their service, are now providing that assistance to the NHS. You look at Professor Neil Greenberg; he's a kind of a world leader in moral injury, where your moral or ethical code has been questioned by something that has or has not happened. And And he's now taking that into the NHS because there's been decisions made recently on COVID-19 wards that are going to affect people's ethics long term. Not unlawful, but certainly ethical or moral. Yeah. That's going to do it.
Yeah. So just to give someone an idea about a moral injury, that would be something like, if your moral compass says, like the idea of like prioritizing because they're having to triage some patients and turn off some, basically leave some to concentrate on others. That could be a moral injury to someone. Mate, I tell you what, one of the things I love most about the podcast and it comes down to the mindful thingness of you were saying. When you've got business concerns like you have, or you've got writing or going on like I have, or everyone's got things going on, you've got your kids, you've got all this stuff going on in the world, it can be very hard to schedule time in to just have a conversation with someone. Simple as that. And I think that's such a great thing about podcasting, because it's like you actually get to have a chat for an hour. Because like last time I saw you, it was a chat over a pint, and I fucking love a chat over a pint, and I can't wait for the next one. But it's good to have I think like a long discussion with someone that doesn't involve going to the pub. Because for me, that was always the kind of the thing about it. But dude, I love it because it's like I listen to Declassified, I listen to H Hour, I listen to my friends at the Smoke Pit podcast, and there's a bunch of other podcasts. Like you said, everyone is a little different. Everyone brings a bit of their own kind of character to it. And then I listen to a lot of, like, one of the things, to be honest, mate, I would actually say this. One of the things I think has helped my transition to Civvy Street the more was when I started to listen to a lot of Civvy podcasts and stuff too. Because you do need to get outside of the military bubble in order to transition. You can't transition to Civvy Street if you never try and transition to Civvy Street. So I think, like, I honestly think that, like, podcasting, dude, I think it's just like such a great medium. Like, as much as I love books, podcasting just has this accessibility. It doesn't matter. You don't need to have any education to be able to do it. Some people can't fucking read. Some people, it's very hard work for somebody to work through a book. And I think it's really cool, mate, the way that you're getting these stories out to people. The other thing as well, mate, is so cool. It's like probably something like I'm sure you've considered too, is like this conversation right now exists. It ain't going anywhere now. Well, unless we fuck up at the end and don't save it properly. But it's there for, like, so when the next generation of soldiers come around, because unfortunately a lot of lessons seem to be need to be relearned again. And these lessons will be out there. These things will be out there. People's stories will be out there. I think that's fantastic, mate. So thank you for the work that you've done, that, because it's certainly helped me, and you've been helped me too getting this going. So thank you. Do you want to give any parting words of advice, mate, before we tell people where to find you?
I think I could go on all day, right? But I think some of the things you want to be considering, whether or not you're in transition, whether you've been out for 20 years, or if you're going to go into, or you're going to create a small business, like, be vision-led, have values, write this stuff down, understand what you want to achieve day to day, month to month, year to year, from a vision point of view. Get good mentors, have people around you that can help you grow and develop. And then just like start piecing this together, start piecing your personal profile together. Like, what does social media say about you on all your platforms? Because this stuff can be done for free. So start looking at things that don't cost, and start working on that. If you're on a podcast, if you're privileged enough to be asked to come on a podcast, like, if someone's going to listen back in 6 months, how is that going to sound, and how are you going to be perceived in that, and what you're talking about? Same on social media, whether that's any of the platforms, like, work on this stuff, because it can be the difference between employment or not employment, whether that's self-employed or working for someone else. I think, yeah, that's my last little kind of.
No, absolutely, mate. I'll second all of that, because what you put online, like we were saying, in a good way and a bad way, stays online. And I'm sure from an employer's point of view, it is something that people look at, which is why I'm glad I'm self-employed, because I'd be pretty fucked otherwise. Mate, where can people find you?
Michael__Coates on all the social media.
Coates spelled, how would you spell it?
Coates.
Sweet.
You could just Google me and put military on the end of it, and it pops up. at HQ Combat for all the combat pest control stuff, or at D-Class Network for all the declassified stuff. It's the same at on all the different platforms.
Is the book available online for people to get?
No, not at the moment, no. But we took it off for a bit. But anything you want to know, like we've done podcasts about the book. So if you look on Declassified, you'll find stuff.
And just search Declassified Podcast in your podcast app, all that kind of stuff. You'll find it on there, right? All right, mate, thanks so much for coming on. I want to take a moment to acknowledge you because I do this now. We can't have an actual hug, so I'll give you a virtual hug, mate, and say thank you for the work that you've been doing, mate, putting it out there. Thank you for the assistance and the help you've given me doing this podcast and just being a good mate. And thank you, bro.
Well, thanks once again to Mike for coming on to the podcast. I really enjoyed that one. And I'm sure you guys did too. So we have another guest coming up in a second because this is the double header, the spit roast, the Eiffel Tower of podcast episodes, so to speak. So next up we got Marty coming. But please, give me your ears. Lend me your ears. Don't even have to give them to me. Just lend me your ears for a couple of minutes while we talk about some veteran-owned companies like Zulu Alpha Strap Company. Bombers watch straps for alley blokes. Zulu Alpha Straps is a veteran-owned company who know how important it is to be in the right place at the right time. If you spend your money on a nice watch, then get the right strap to go with it. They have got some really cool videos and content up at the moment, and you can see them all, and you can get your hands on their lovely merchandise at Zulu Alpha Straps. One word, they're tagged up in the posts. Check them out. You will not be disappointed. And if you are disappointed, then you are a fucking slag. And I want nothing to do with you. Because if you can't appreciate a good watch strap, then we ain't mates. Alright? Alright, moving on. This episode is also brought to you by Right Flank, a veteran-owned and operated clothing brand producing gym and active clothing for men and women. With over 20 years' experience, Right Flank bring you tough and well-tested clothing for your most challenging times and tasks. Veteran-owned, veteran-operated, very experienced guys. They did a lot of pew-pew-pewing back in the day. Now they're making lovely clothes. Highly recommend them. Wear them myself at Right Flank, spelt R-I-T-E Flank, for your social medias and you youngsters on your TikToks and smoking your balloons. And then we've got at Right Flank, rightflank.com. Rightflank.com. Well, there might be a rightflank.com out there. I haven't been to that site. Give me a minute. I'll check it out. Leave a review. In the meantime, go to rightflank.com. We're also brought to you by Camouflage, a specialist surveillance and investigations company, a brand you can rely on for their professionalism, integrity, and quality of work at all levels. These guys can do anything from looking at people online, to going into other countries to gather information on the ground, to looking into your unlawful partner who's going to leave you because you've got fat, haven't you? You let lockdown get to you, you're fat, and now she's going to leave you. So get Camouflage and at least get a better divorce settlement. Things will not be as bad as they could be. Their website has also got a bunch of gear on there from the likes of Lawmate, Yukon, TRC Outdoors, and Luminate Designs. They've got some mega Ali kit. I give it the Ali seal of approval. Not that I am Lord Ali, but you know what? Did have a bit of screw on me helmet, so maybe I know what I'm talking about. So check them out. Camouflage.co.uk, remember it's spelled with a K, and Camouflage Ltd. That's limited for you people who are not business moguls. They're on there, tagged up in all things. They're all tagged up in all the things. Don't even know why I tell you these names. Just go and click on the stuff that I tag up. Why am I wasting my time tagging things up if you lot aren't even using them? Oh, I love you. I love you guys, really. I'm feeling a bit claustrophobic. I've been in the closet doing these introductions for a while now. It's starting to get to me. All right. We got more guests on, haven't we? Fucking awesome. Double header. I like this. I like being the sandwich in between the Michael Coates and the Marty Skovlund. In fact, if I had to pick it, I probably couldn't pick too much more caring lovers than those two. So let's get to Marty. Let's hear what he's got to say. Let's delve inside his veteran state of mind.
It's been a kind of an interesting time during quarantine and everything like that. So I've been focusing on, the kind of the day job with expanding coffeeordie.com, as well as our video offerings. We just launched a YouTube web series of our videos late last year. So we've been pushing that forward, kind of expanding our written content and working on a book. So I wrote a story last year on a woman named Shannon Kent. She was a Navy cryptologist who died in Syria. And really that doesn't do a lot to describe exactly what she was up to. She was kind of working at the very, forefront of special operations, doing very, shady stuff and austere places, I guess.
I was just thinking about her, bro, actually. So I was just in the store, and they were like, the kind of like the Orwellian announcement comes up. We'd like to thank all of you guys for being local heroes. Please keep 6 feet apart, and all that kind of stuff. And I was like, God, we've really watered down the term hero. Like, I'm a hero right now for standing 6 feet away from someone, and it was actually, I was thinking about you, and Shannon was actually that came to my mind. Yeah. Because I was like, we have to have, like, we work on hierarchies. We need to have hierarchies. Everyone can't be a hero, and the term means nothing.
Mm-hmm.
Like, it really does. And, like, I just think it does a disservice to people like her when we put her in the same bracket as me standing 6 feet from someone in a store.
I don't know. I think that there's a few different ways to look at that, though, because there's always that, where do you draw the line then, or where's the threshold? Like, she didn't win the Medal of Honor, like, does that mean, what I mean? Should she be in the same, I'm saying this for anybody's listening, this is just for the devil's advocate point here, but like, should she be in the same conversation as somebody who won the Medal of Honor?
We don't do devil's advocate, mate. You have to agree with me or you get cut.
No, I mean, I think it's an interesting point though about like what is a hero, and also too, like at what level? Because is just because the firefighter who rescued the old lady's kitten, she's that old lady, or he's that old lady's hero that day, exactly. Right? Like he kind of, but does that mean he's in the same category as somebody like Shannon who gave her life and against this like brutal enemy, that we called ISIS? Like, I think it's all kind of I think that it's an interesting conversation to have though, because is simply doing your job, aka a grocery store worker, somebody working on kind of the medical front lines, is that enough to make you a hero?
Yeah.
If it's not, does that mean that the person who fought in combat heroically, weren't they just doing their job too?
I actually think that, bro. I actually think that. So like for me, it's like for me, and this is something that's obviously open to personal interpretation. I wouldn't say, but like for me, it's like, are you going out of your way to do it? By me standing 6 foot away from someone in a grocery store, I'm not fucking going out my way or doing anything like that. Like I'm just happen to be standing a couple of feet less than I usually would be, right? I don't think that means that I deserve to be defined as a local hero. Now, for somebody,
I think it does make you not an asshole, though.
It does make me not an asshole, but to be fair, I would quite willingly stand 6 feet away from people anyway, because I've given up showering since lockdown began. Yeah.
Oh, I didn't even have to give that up. I already did it sparingly at best. I mean, I'm a dirty writer.
I mean, I wash my armpits and my balls before coming down here today and recording. So, I mean, that is heroic. But and Peter right now is Peter right now is sitting on the other side of the glass. He's certainly heroic having to put up with it. But no, I think a lot of it has to do with, for me, it's, are you going out of your way? Are you doing anything that's out of your way? Or are you just doing everything that lines up to you? And like you, it's interesting that you bring up, like, are you a hero for going to combat? I don't think you are a hero for going to combat. And here's the other thing. There's a lot of fucking assholes that go to combat and use it as an excuse to fucking
that are assholes too.
Oh, dude, I know of people who've like military cross winners and stuff, not the ones that come on this podcast, but I know of ones who they were the most hated people in their units. They used to beat the shit.
You don't have to be likable to be good at combat. Right?
No, but that's the really funny thing, though. But it's like we generalize people. It's like, oh, you're a Navy SEAL, please come on CNN as an expert. Like you must be an expert on foreign policy because you were a Navy SEAL, and like what do you think on, like, what's your definition of hero?
I don't know. I think it's one of those things that I'm super conflicted on, of where I don't think I'm closely guarding the term that much. I just think that I think maybe I mean, gosh, I haven't really gone down that rabbit hole until just right now. So just, take this as this is Marty giving it to you fresh as it's coming off his brain,
Freestyle, baby.
Yeah. I think that maybe there's multiple variations of a hero, and that I think that there's a big distinction between being heroic and being a hero.
Ooh, I like that.
And I do think that it is kind of one of those things that's open to interpretation, because what's a hero to one person is not necessarily a hero to the next person, and that's where, when you look at the human experience, the guy that was very effective in combat, killed 20 enemy fighters, rescued his buddies. He's a hero. We give him medals. Maybe he's lucky enough to get a plaque at his, in his unit's hallway back home or something like that, because he was so effective. But on the other side of that, he was, oh, hey, he killed my dad and all my brothers, and fuck this guy. He's not a hero to those people. I'm not saying that we should agree with the enemy or anything like that, but what is it? It's subjective. I think that very instance makes it subjective.
Absolutely. And even more so than that, let's take the enemy out of the equation. They're the guys who are decorated veterans who beat the fuck out of their wives.
Yep, 100%.
There's decorated veterans there who shot kids, who shot fucking, so it's a tough one to throw around. I think one of these things, it's one of those ones it's almost like a gut thing. When you know something is wrong or right in your gut. Mm-hmm. That's kind of how I feel with the hero thing. Sometimes I just hear it and you're just like, yep. And other times they're like, I'm not so sure about that one.
As I kind of unpack this, I think what we have going on right now with the current pandemic, right? So for medical workers, it's their job to go to work and deal with this, right? But it's not normal for them, right? This isn't the normal, hey, I'm dealing with normal, kind of the normal emergency sort of situations that they deal with. And typically, when you're plugging up a gunshot wound, yes, there's always that threat of maybe I'll contract HIV or something from working on my patients, but you're not worried about it. You're not in full on, NBC, nuclear biochemical, you're not dealing with that. And so I think I would almost liken it to, it was, for the guys who landed at Normandy, right? It was their job as soldiers to land on Normandy, but that was not the typical day in the life of a soldier, right? That was the up to level 10 as far as life of a soldier, right? And so I think that maybe that's what we're looking at right now with the medical community, where it's hey, a weaker mind might say, I'm not going into work today because I don't want to expose myself or my family to this. And it would be hard for a lot of people to really blame them, I guess. But the heroic thing is no, I'm going to go into work. I'm going to face this on despite what might happen to me. Just like that guy who, as they were loading up the boats to go storm the beaches on June 6, 1944, I don't think anybody would have seriously blamed the dude as fuck this. I'm going to die. I'm on the first wave. Why? I'm basically committing suicide by getting on this boat. Right. But the heroic thing was for all those guys that they were no, it is what it is. What happens will happen. I'm going to get on this boat. I'm going to go do my duty. I think we would call them heroes, right?
Yeah. And not only that, dude, but there's people that wanted to get on those boats. Let's not forget that. Those Rangers that went at Point de Hoc, they wanted to be there, right? Mm-hmm. And I'm sure there's some fucking doctors and nurses right now who are fuck yeah.
This is my Super Bowl.
Yeah. Let's not forget that there's people like that. It doesn't mean that they want anyone to die before people start fucking crying.
Exactly.
Yep. Doesn't mean they want people to die. But this is their moment to step up to the fucking plate. Not that they don't step up to the plate on a regular basis anyway. But, you and I, we both wanted to go fucking kick ass.
Yeah. This is the peak. This is the pinnacle for them, right? This is the worst case scenario that many of them, train for, especially the people that are working in specifically in infectious diseases, right? For them, this is holy shit, this is everything I've been, talking about for decades now. If this could happen, and now it's happening, and I'm the fucking guy or the fucking gal, it's on me to figure this shit out.
Yeah, and I mean, I can see how because one of the it's quite interesting actually, because I thought I knew, intuitively, the suicides and stuff are going to go up during this time. But one of the, I was thinking it's going to be people because they're drinking. Excuse me, Max. The people are going to be drinking. They're going to be home alone. They're going to be, they're not getting outdoors, they're not getting exercise, all that kind of stuff. What I didn't realize, because I've been like looking up at this suicide stuff, is some people who have literally been scared into killing themselves. And this is kind of like an unknown thing, but it's some people were like because some people react more headless chickeny to news than other people. And when the media came out, as they do, with their doom and gloom scenarios, all your loved ones are going to die, the economy's going to collapse, there's going to be war, all this stuff. Some people literally fucking killed themselves because they were like, fuck this, I'm getting out while I can. And that's kind of like something that was like, I was like, whoa, didn't see that one coming. Like people literally like scared into taking their own lives. Because
is there historical precedence for that? Like,
yes,
when you look at like the Blitzkrieg, like were people like being like, oh, fuck this, the bombs are falling out of the sky, like things are looking bleak, I'm just going to end it.
Apparently so. And I think in the Great Depression, the suicide, like, so the kind of per capita rate of suicide during the Great Depression was about what it is now for the COVID death rate. The mortality rate of suicide in the Great Depression, because a lot of people just like, fuck, because they didn't see it getting any better. So they were just like, fuck this, I'm out. Like on top of the other people who were like, I've lost everything, all that kind of stuff. So you and I are both writers, spend our time at home a lot of the time anyway, but you do go on the road a lot. How are you finding it? Because you locked down early, didn't you? You locked down, you battened down the hatches pretty early.
It was so. I remember I was out doing a story in Arizona, and I flew back home the day that the president officially announced the state of emergency. And so I think I kind of finished up my last trip right as like we were all like that last trip that I was on, we were all talking about it. And in the trip prior to that, I was down in Guatemala. We were all talking about like, what do you make of this whole COVID-19 thing? What do you think? It was like definitely.
Were we talking about it at SHOT in mid-January? Were we talking about it then? I don't think we were.
Yeah.
Were we?
No, 100% we were. Because I remember I got sick as shit there. It turned out just to be influenza A, but it was like, it fucking sucked, dude.
I thought it was going to turn out to be like
I remember
hangover.
getting back thinking like, man, there was a shit ton of Chinese people at my hotel, which there were. I was like, man, like I feel like, and so when I initially went into the urgent care clinic, they tested me and I came up negative for influenza. It's like, I feel like fucking dog shit. I'm negative for influenza, and I had a ton of Chinese people at my hotel that are all tourists, like fresh. Obviously they're in Vegas, like, so they're fresh from China. It's not like they're just normal, Chinese American or whatever. You know what I mean? Like, like it was like actual tourists that had just recently traveled from China, and so like I was kind of like, holy shit, do I actually have this thing? And I went into urgent care. Like I said, I came up negative for influenza and the standard, this is what it might be if you've got these symptoms. And I was like, so should I be getting tested for the Rona? And they're like, and they like literally didn't know what to do because this was so early on. This was what, like the last week of January, the first week of February, something like that.
Yeah. Shot was like 17th, 18th, I think. Something like that. No, like 21st.
It was probably like the last week of January. And they were like, well, even if you do, we don't have any tests. We don't know. We don't have any guidance on how to, and their advice to me was like, yeah, maybe you do, maybe you don't. We don't know. So go home, rest, drink water. And if you still feel like, if you feel worse tomorrow, go to the ER. And it was like, okay, so I potentially have coronavirus and I'm going home to my wife, who's a type 1 diabetic, and my young daughter. Like that doesn't seem like a great solution. Now it turned out, the end of this story is, when I did feel worse the next day, I did go into the ER. They gave, apparently the test that they give you for influenza at these, walk-in clinics is not as in-depth or extensive as the one that they can give you at the ER. So the ER, they gave me like the full-on like panel, like in-depth, and they're like, no, you have influenza A. You just have like a really bad case of influenza A. And I'm like, oh, okay. So, well, I mean, that's a relief, I guess. But this was in January.
Yeah.
I did two or three more trips in between January and when the lockdown started. So I got off that last trip. State of emergency was called. And then from there, it was pretty much like, all right, well, and Evan, our CEO at Black Rifle, he, to his credit, I think, was very forward looking on this and didn't want to have our business, impacted by people getting sick and having to shut down the manufacturing side or anything. So he immediately put a ban on travel. That actually went in place while I was still 2 days away from finishing up that last trip in Arizona. And so it was basically, I was authorized to fly back home, and that was it. And after that, it's like no more traveling until, further guidance is put out. And we're still on that travel ban. That was in March, I guess, when that went into place. And so I haven't gone anywhere since March, which is,
you know what?
Probably the longest I've been home for a while.
Yeah, and you've lost out as a writer, bro, because I was already committed to helping my friend JC move to a new job across the country. So basically, JC had a car full of guns that he needed to move from Southern California to Chicago to start his new job. And I went with him, because you should do road trips with a buddy. So I saw America locked down from one end, like one side to the other. And then I went from Southern California, obviously, back to the UK. Here's one of the things. Here's when I realized that this isn't as bad as they're saying it is. Was when I was like, right, I'm on a tourist visa. I have a place to stay. Can I just stay here at my fucking friend's apartment where I have a room so I don't have to travel or anything like that? Nope, we're not extending tourist visas. You have to travel. And I thought, this isn't as bad as they're fucking saying. Because if they're not extending, like, if it was like, I was like, dude, I'm locked. Like, they locked down the beach. So they were locking down the beach in San Clemente. They were like, right, we're locking down the beach. That's not safe. But you can travel the other side of the world. I was like, right, this is fucking weird.
I think that there's a difference between common sense guidance on dealing with this pandemic, which I think we've seen the range of like, some good things that have come out of this, as well as some just absolutely dumb guidance that has been given, just bad strategy. And I don't think bad guidance necessarily means that it's not as bad as they're saying it is, or it could be. It's just more, I think there's a lot of people that are completely out of their element right now, are making, and bureaucrats who are making decisions that are not founded on, science or medical necessity, or because the common sense thing there, just applying common sense to the situation is like, hey guys, stay fucking home, or stay where you're at. Shelter in place. That's what shelter in place means. Shelter in fucking place.
Yeah, but dude,
not get on a plane across the world.
So, because the reason they don't want you to stay they don't want you to stay past your tourist visa is because they're worried about you taking a job. I'm like, people aren't going into work, bro. Like nobody's hiring right now.
I don't know if you've seen the unemployment rate. It's like fucking 20%.
Yeah.
Like,
so it's like I am keeping Uber Eats in business right now.
Yeah.
I'm sitting on the couch. I am keeping White Claw and Uber Eats in fucking business. But yeah, that just made me laugh. But dude, like I was saying, like as a writer, I kind of felt really lucky to be traveling at that time. Because I was like, this is fucking nuts. Like we stayed in so since I last saw you in Vegas, I've done another 2 Vegas trips. And the last one was when they closed everything down. Because that was only announced on the day. It wasn't like, it was like, right, we're shutting everything down tonight. It wasn't like a pre-planned thing. So I saw the Vegas empty, which was a trip. And then to travel, like I went into, you've been through Heathrow Terminal 5. I went into that huge foyer they've got for security, and I walked in, and all the security staff started clapping, and they go, "Yay, a passenger!" And I was like, "Wow, this is weird." And it's like they were all like, I had 20 people like help. They were like, "Oh, let me help you with that," because they were all wanted something to do. And then I walked through Terminal 5 Heathrow, where you usually zig in and zag in and fucking. And it was like, because at first, because they were only having a few flights coming in. And I was like, wow, I'm really kind of lucky to see this right now. I probably should document it more, but let me get on Bumble instead. So it was just kind of like, it was just weird, really weird, dude. Like, really weird.
Well, I mean, as you know, like as a writer, it's like life experience is kind of the seeds of what we do. Like you need that texture of having seen it firsthand. To kind of inspire things that you do in your writing, whether you write about it doesn't mean that like, oh, you saw the effects of a pandemic, like I'm going to go write a book on a pandemic now. It's just now it's like you have this background, this foundation of what a shutdown economy looks like, what a world that is in shutdown looks like. That can be applied to so many different things, and I actually, Vegas shutdown, it's hard to put into words how weird that is. So I actually have seen that. I just happened to be in Vegas shortly after the Las Vegas shooting. happened.
Oh.
And so I just happened to be there just, very shortly after that when, the streets were empty. Nobody was there. My Uber driver was like, yeah, man, like I'm basically, can't pay rent this month because there's nobody to hire Ubers. And, like it's a strange thing. It's a really strange thing. So I'm sure for you, like having seen that now, it's one thing to be told it's a strange thing. It's another to have actually seen it with your own eyes and been there.
Like, bro, when we were checking out the Cosmopolitan, and usually you go to the valet, and up front they've got like Lamborghinis and all these all these like exotic cars, and then they, you give them a key, and then they go and get yours and bring it up. There was 3 cars, including ours there. Like that was all that was left in the hotel. It was like three
Holy
fucking
shit.
cars. But it was also interesting seeing like the nature of people, like again from a writing point of view, seeing people's kind of like reactions to this, and one of the things that because I've done a very good, I think I'm hopefully doing a better job now, but to begin with, I was doing a very bad job of putting my point across about how I felt about this stuff. Very bad job. And I was getting some friends of mine who were in the medical community who were getting pissed off at me because they felt that I didn't take things seriously. And I went back to something that I wrote when I came back from Afghanistan, which was, I'm sure you've probably felt this too, I think a lot of veterans do. So when you come back from combat, you get pissed off at, quote unquote, the world because they don't understand and they don't care about what you're going through, is your perception of it. But you were on the front. You were that was your life. People back home have been dealing with their own shit. They might have problems with their kids. It's not like they're just like, they don't care. It's just that they've got their own stuff going on. So if you're a nurse right now and you're working in an ICU, everything is fucking COVID. If you're a farmer in Wyoming, it's business as usual, but it's not business as usual. So I think one of the things we have to do better as people is to, before going like, instead of being like, hey, this person wants to reopen their business, they must want all old people to die, be like, well, hang on, why would they want to reopen their business? Are they just trying to get a Lamborghini? Well, they own a nail salon, so that's probably not what their goal is. They got 3 kids. Their goal is probably to feed the 3 kids. I'm like, I wasn't doing a good job of communicating that to people initially.
I think it just comes down to like, people have, and we're terrible about this these days, people have to remember to have empathy. Like, put yourself in the other person's shoes. Like, whether that is the nurse that's, like you were saying, fighting on the front lines in the ICU, or the person that's dealing with their business being shut down through no fault of their own. Like it's both. Can't we just agree that both people are in a bad situation?
Exactly.
And that like there's no easy solutions for this, and it's kind of like, especially for like our government leaders, like they're kind of in this situation where it's like, what's the least shitty route to take? Like there's no real good solution here. And I think that people just have to remember, instead of like trying to be so polarizing about it and try, in many cases people are trying to politicize it. It's like, no, just have some fucking empathy. Like, it's a shitty situation. Like, this isn't.
But one of the problems we have is that people like have come to. I genuinely don't think this would have been a problem in the past. But we live such great lives now that we think that there's perfect solutions to things. And we think that a lot of people think, oh, there's a solution here where nobody dies. Like, no, like one way or another, bad shit is going, like this pandemic has come and one way or another it's going to be bad. Like what's
I think
up?
That the thing here, like, and sorry to cut you off here.
No, it's fine, bro.
I think the thing is that like we've had it really good for a really long time.
Yes.
Our problems that we've had, and I don't want to come across as like minimizing this stuff, but like terrorist attacks and things like that, those really pale in comparison to some of the things that humans have dealt with throughout history. We haven't really had it that bad for a long time. Most people, the people alive today that remember the last time it was really bad, they just happen to be the ones that are dying from this. Like,
yeah,
man, if you were born in fucking 1925, like you have just gotten a shit run of like between world wars and threats of nuclear weapons and now a pandemic to cap it off.
But here's the thing. When I was in Vegas, bro, there was that last night, there was a 100-year-old World War II vet celebrating his birthday on the fucking casino floor. And he was loving it. And I thought, like, there's a man who's seen so much death and misery in the world that he's like, you know what? Fuck it. I'm not going to fucking stay at home and be miserable. He's like, I'll probably be dead in fucking 6 months anyway. I'm going to fucking Vegas. I'm like, yes. But it's one of the things like I think that and I'm not trying to be like, Gaz and Marty, so fucking tough, though we are. But like, we didn't have to, like, people nowadays don't really have to confront mortality in the West. Mm-hmm. Like, it's not so, like, until people's parents start passing away, it's not something that most people have to confront. And for a lot of people, that doesn't happen until their 50s, even 60s. Some people don't confront mortality until their 60s. Like, a lot of my civilian friends right now who are the same age as me, like, especially initially when they first come out, being like, right, this could be a 5% mortality rate. Like, people are like, whoa, holy shit. And like, it's been a real fucking wake-up call for you. Like, if you go to fucking Mexico right now and be like, there's 5% mortality rate, they're like, well, yeah, by the way, I saw a beheaded body hanging off a bridge last week. You know, it's not having that same fucking impact. You go to anywhere in the Middle East and they're like, yeah, we lost 800,000 people in the last couple of years to violent deaths. It's not having the same effect. But in the West, wow.
Yeah. I mean, to the credit of a few journalists out there, there's a few people that are pointing out that, like, there's many places in the world where this pandemic doesn't even crack the top 5 of their problems. Mm-hmm. Like, it's like they're, pretty much the entire world is aware of this at this point, even in some of the most remote places of, like, Africa and stuff, they're aware of this. But, like, man, like, you tell them, you tell certain people that there's a pandemic, like, certain places in the Middle East, Kabul, it's like, okay, yeah, pandemic, that kind of sucks, but also, like, I don't know if I'm going to hit a fucking roadside bomb at any given time.
Dude, people still die of typhoid.
Family assassinated.
People die of typhoid around the world. They still die of typhoid.
Malaria.
Dude, malaria kills 1/3 of people a year. Like, here's one of the things that's pissing me off, bro, is I think it's the hypocrisy of the West kind of thing. Is that, like, I keep bringing this figure up. 9 million on average every year from starvation. 9 million. That's a curve that we could flatten. Like, there's no reason for those 9 million to be dying every year. Mm-hmm. But where's been the interest there?
And also, too, I think it's important to say that just because people have it worse in, say, the Middle East or certain parts of Africa or certain parts of Central America, like, just because people have it worse doesn't mean that what people, like, in more developed parts of the world are experiencing isn't also bad.
Yeah, true.
You know what I mean? It's like that whole thing of, like, you can feel like shit from the flu, but that if somebody comes in and is like, oh yeah, bro, but you don't have it as bad as the person that's got cancer.
Yeah.
It's kind of like, well, fuck off. Yeah.
No.
I still feel like shit right now.
It's definitely true, but I think the reason it's important to recognize that is for us to go, hey, you know how bad this sucks for us? Well, there's this stuff going on every year with malaria and thing. Maybe this could be our wake-up call to actually fucking do some shit about that,
Yes. Well, and also, too, I think that this is a big wake-up call for a lot of people of, like, as far as pandemics go, it could have been better. It could have also been a lot worse, right? Yeah. Like, there are...
Oh, for sure.
You know what I mean? And I think that this is kind of a nice... I think that this is, like, a taste of, like, for a lot of people of, like, oh, maybe I need to re-hone some of those self-sufficiency skills that my grandparents had that we've kind of let atrophy over the decades, right? Like, I don't know, just to be completely transparent, like, I don't know half the stuff my dad knew about how to, like, fix a car. Like, I'm not a car guy. Mechanics is not my area of, interest or expertise for any matter. And for me, it's kind of like, man, if everything's shut down and I can't get to a mechanic or anything, like, what's my mode of transportation? Also, let's take that down the road a little bit more. What if fucking gas gets cut off and nobody's got cars? What are you doing? Like, you don't need to go into, like, extreme survivalist prepper mode to just think about, like, maybe I could be a little bit more prepared than what I've allowed myself to be the past.
Dude, the most simple form, the most simple form of that is people need to stop being fat. People need to stop being unhealthy. Like, if this is not a wake-up call for you to exercise and eat, then I don't know what is. Because, like, all the evidence is out there to show that you are far more at risk than this. And not only that, but like you're saying, bro, like, right now we have the hospitals, we have all this. What if you didn't have, like, because there's so many people, like, the the kind of like the medical conditions are inflicted upon ourselves. So what if that medical system isn't there? Because right now you might be thinking, oh, well, you know what? I'm 30 years old. I'm obese. Fuck it. When I'm older, the medical system will take care of me. Might not be there. You might be dead in 40.
Well, and also too, I think it's just like we've seen with this, where it's like the more in shape you are, the healthier that you are, the more resilient you are, and the more your body is equipped to fight things like a pandemic, or even, you know, it's as simple as even just like surviving things like a car accident or something. There's guys that I know that are alive today that survived their injuries in combat because they were in really good shape.
Yeah.
You know, like there's something to be said about making your body resilient.
Yeah, definitely. And it's made me step up my fitness game big time as well, because I don't want to take this to extremes, but basically there has been a part of me that's thought, so I'm not saying that COVID is going to lead to a fucking breakdown of society or anything like that. I'm not saying that. But what it has shown me is, what if there was a breakdown of society right now? Are you in shape to fight in it? And I'm not. And like, I got to give, this is where I got to give props to people like Jocko and Joe Rogan and The Rock and these guys who are like in their fucking 50s and shit, 40s, 50s, who are still fucking fit. And I'm like, because I kind of given up before. I was like, you know what? I'm never going to be combat fit again.
Yeah, but let's be fair though, with a lot of those guys, they'll gladly admit to you that they're like, yeah, my job is literally to carve out time to go work out and have trainers and eat a certain way and personal chefs and all that other stuff. I think people need to be realistic too and realize like, hey, you got 3 kids at home and you're working 10 hours a day and stuff, like, man, you're lucky to find time to go for a half-hour jog.
But you can do 15 minutes of burpees. Everyone has 15 minutes for doing burpees. Everyone.
No, 100%. It's just being realistic too, though. Like, I want to make sure that I'm not telling people like, oh, hold yourself to the standard of like guys like Joe Rogan, Jocko, The Rock being an extreme scenario. But like, you know, they're in a position, and I think they would all admit that like, hey, we're in a position to really take advantage of making our body the best version of itself that it can be. Most people are not going to be able to get to that level, but they can do better than nothing.
Yes.
Right? Like, I think that's the message here. You can do better than nothing.
And do better than shoveling just absolutely. Hey, and I'm not saying don't eat a fucking pizza. Eat a pizza, but don't have pizza for every fucking meal. You know? Yeah. And like, just, you know, like, just realize that I think one of the things is like, there could be, doesn't mean there will be, but there could be a situation where there's no cavalry coming and you are the cavalry. I gotta say, bro, like, and you know, don't feel like you need to weigh in on this. I have I'd already kind of changed my Second Amendment opinions in favor of the Second Amendment, because I used to be quite against it. The amount of people who used to be anti-Second Amendment, so that's gun ownership for people in the UK, who text me saying, I need to get a gun, what shall I get? Mm-hmm. There was many. And,
really?
Yeah. Like, these guys had been staunchly anti-gun, and then they'd seen, and to be fair, they live around LA, which was the craziest of the crazy. One of my friends, his kind of like, she's kind of like nanny / kind of like household manager. She went to like a store to buy stuff. She picked up like a pack of vegan burger patties and got punched in the face for them. Like, that was the kind of level of crazy in LA. I didn't see that in Orange County. I saw people being very respectful. I saw people just being great Americans.
Yep.
Like, that's what I saw. And I think that was with the majority of the country were just being great Americans.
And I think that the point there is for a lot of people to realize, you know, it doesn't take a pandemic or a complete breakdown in society. You look at New Orleans, you know, you get socked, you know, take it on the chin with a hurricane, and things are shut down for 7 to 10 days. Nobody's, you know, EMS is shut down, police are shut down, and you've got looting going on. You kind of have to have a means to defend yourself. You know what I mean? Like, it's not, I don't, you know, at least my position, I know some people take the Second Amendment discussion to like extremes. For me, it's just kind of like common sense of just like, hey, there's a good middle ground here to where you don't necessarily need to have an arsenal of, you know, machine guns and stuff like that. But like, I think it does kind of make sense if you're any sort of, you know, in the same way that you would maybe keep a little bit extra food in the pantry, or you would keep a Band-Aid house in case something happened. I think it makes sense to keep a firearm around, you know, just in case, you know, like it's an insurance policy.
And here's what you were saying, though, to go back to what you were saying, dude, about how, like, you know, it's a bit of a wake-up call. You need to know, and you need to be competent, and you need to be trained on that firearm. It's no good to just buy something and have it sitting in a fucking locker. You've never picked it up. Like, the time to be learning how to use it. Exactly. You know what, bro? I bust my fucking medical kit out. Bust my medical kit out the other day, and I was kind of scared about how shit and slow I was at stuff.
Yep.
I'm actually really kind of in favor of people like I think all of us should go and do like first person on scene courses and stuff, which is like a 2-day course in the UK. I think everybody, if you have the money, it's something I think should be government funded. Honestly, like the amount of stuff that the government throws money at, you'd think first aid would be a fucking good one.
There is for listeners that are in the US, there's a great campaign called Stop the Bleed. And it's all about just literally teaching everybody from school-age children to adults about how to stop bleeds. Whether you're in a car accident or a school shooting or anything, or cut yourself in the kitchen, the ability to stop hemorrhaging saves lives.
Yeah, 100%.
Like, just knowing how to do that is such a big thing, and it's such a simple thing. Stopping a bleed is not brain surgery. You just need to know the right ways to do it.
And let's think about this as well. If you're someone that's going, well, I like the sound of that, but I don't have time. Would you be able to look at yourself in the mirror to know that you could have saved somebody in a car wreck and you didn't because you'd spend that extra 15 minutes watching fucking Netflix or fucking, you know, like you got you made an extra $20, you know, make the time for this stuff, prioritize it. Look, there's fucking shit. There's a lot of content on YouTube and stuff. You can buy the stuff online now. Like, you can buy tourniquets. You can keep a trauma pack in your car. Keep a trauma pack in your house. Bro, I want to jump into writing because I know a lot of listeners right now are aspiring writers. And I think that, you know, I don't think you should need to necessarily want to write a book in order to benefit from the joy of writing, the therapeutic feeling of writing. What's your kind of thoughts on that?
Yeah, I just had this conversation the other day with somebody that was kind of, you know, they've been delving into writing a little bit more. And my big thing is, like, ultimately writing is storytelling. Storytelling can be accomplished through a variety of mediums, whether that's through film, through photography, through art, through writing. When you go specifically into writing, there's so many different varieties of that, you know, subcategories of that between prose and poetry, screenwriting. Even, you know, getting into prose, you know, you can write articles, fiction, nonfiction. You can write short stories. You can, you can write books. Like, there's so many different things that you can get into. Me, I'm kind of one of these people that, like, I could kind of, this sounds so probably dramatic, but, like, I consider myself a storyteller first before I do a writer or a filmmaker or anything like that. Yeah, you know, it's kind of like
I do too, bro.
Yeah, like that structure applies across any medium, right? Like, once you know how to tell a story, you can do it in a lot of different mediums, and I think it's good. Like, learning how to write screenplays made me a better journalist, and journalism has made me better at writing fiction. Like, it's all these things kind of tie together, and so I think if somebody wants to do it professionally, I highly encourage them to look into the different types of storytelling and study screenplay books, study poetry books, study fiction, study nonfiction, study journalism, study all that stuff. You know, the principles of investigative journalism apply directly to what you would do for research for a fiction novel, right? Like, there's so much bleed over and crossover, but really it's kind of like, hey, find what you're interested in or like what might be a good starting point for you. And you never know where it'll lead, right? Like, I had no fucking clue I'd be into the shit that I'm doing right now 5 years ago. Hell, how much have I changed since the first time you and I met out in LA?
A lot.
You know?
Yeah.
Like,
you still got
like,
the van though, right?
No
You still got the van though. Was that 5 years ago?
Was it?
Have we known each other for 5 years?
5 years.
No, I think
like
I think it's 4. I think it's 4, bro.
Like 4 years. Yeah.
Holy shit, man! Time.
Because I was on the van trip, right?
You were on the van trip.
Yeah. So that was 2016.
Time it is a flying, brother. Holy shit! Wow. You know what though? I had someone hit me up the other day, and they were like, "Oh, I've written some poetry. Do you mind like taking a look at it and tell me if it's any good?" Now, one, I have no right to tell you if your poetry is any good or not. Right. Like just because I've had a book published doesn't mean I know fuck all. Like who was the guy, dude, that said nobody knows anything? The guy, something Goldman, The Adventures into Screenwriting. Mm-hmm. William Goldman, I think it was. But he basically in his book was like, because it's about making movies. He's like, no one knows anything, and that's true about it's actually not just true about art. It's about true in life in general. Nobody does know anything. Everyone is fucking winging it. Some less than others, but even so, even Warren Buffett is winging it to a fucking extent, you know.
Yeah.
So what I said to him was like, dude, I was like, did you enjoy writing it? Did you enjoy writing it? Like, was that like, did you enjoy it? Yes or no? Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Did it feel good to write it? Yes. Then it's good. Like, it doesn't mean that does it mean that it's going to fucking sell and be published in a book? Maybe not. But that's not the purpose of writing. Like, so the other day, dude, I got a message, a real touching message, and it was from a guy whose dad had taken his own life, suffering with PTSD, combat veteran. This young lad had reached out to me. Dude, I read the message first thing in the morning. I was a bit choked up, man.
What a way to start the day.
Yeah, what a way to start the day. Well, yeah, you know, like, but this guy had read Brothers in Arms, and he said that like he just wanted to thank me, which I thought was fucking so nice of him for doing it, because he said they helped him understand his dad a bit more. And I told that to my mum after 48 hours of like letting it sink in, because otherwise I probably just would have started fucking crying. And my mum said, well, you know what? If nothing else, that means that that was worthwhile doing. And that's 100% true. So, like, I've got, you know, the book's coming out. This isn't a plug, by the way. The book is coming out, like, the paperback will be out soon. It's not that I don't give a fuck how it does. I do.
Mm-hmm.
But there's no pressure attached to it now, because I'm like, well, that message was all I needed. Yeah. And you can have that message from yourself. That doesn't even need to be an external message. Like, if you can look at what you've written and gone, I really enjoyed that. I really, like, if it's comedy and you enjoy doing it and you laughed, you success. Like, if you felt it was cathartic, it was a success. People are too tied into commercial success meaning success. Doesn't mean that whatsoever. Most of the commercial successes are absolute dross. When you actually break, like, most of these commercial successes are, you've got somebody with a big name off like TV or whatever. They have someone like me or Marty come in, on the fucking Ghostwriter Assassins. We come in, we write it. We can never, as professionally as we take our duties, you and I can never write for somebody else what someone can write for themselves.
Mm-hmm.
That's just
100%.
How can you?
It's, on the note of commercial success and everything like that, obviously, you know, if that's the road that you're trying to go down, if you're not doing it as leisure or as therapy or whatever, a lot of people use it for that, and I think that's great, right? If you are trying to like do it professionally and make a living off of it, then it's like, yeah, man, I think that there are additional pressures put on you, you know, especially if you're taking that dive of like, oh man, I'm quitting my fucking day job, you know, like,
yeah,
you know, like,
which I don't recommend until you are established.
Yes, 1,000%. Or you take another job, you know, again, like maybe you want to be a novelist, but maybe you're able to get a job at the local newspaper pumping out, you know.
Yeah, well, dude, the way I see it, I don't know about you, like, I see my ghostwriting is my second job. I don't consider my writing and ghostwriting as the same thing. It's like, I write, and then on the other hand, I have my writing, and then there's ghostwriting. And as much as I love the ghostwriting, it's not the same feeling that you get from creating your own stuff. It's just not. But that is my second job. But I've actually been looking into doing security gigs and stuff recently. Somebody reached out to me, like we were talking about, because I used to do the private security on the boats. And he was like, yeah, it's like 2,800. And I was like, oh, a week? He's like, no, a month. I'm like, oh, pass. When I started doing it, when I did the private security, it was $500 a day. So I was like, nah, swerve on that one. But dude, if I could get paid to be on a fucking ship, $300 a day, thinking of stories, fuck yeah. So yeah, definitely.
I have thought about that a lot, as far as like, I wish I knew what I was going to be doing these days back when I was in the military. I think about all that time I spent on deployments that I could have been writing, I could have been reading. Dude, there's so many classics that I haven't read, you know? Like,
I started reading the Iliad recently. Like, I've started reading the Iliad. I was like, I've written 10 books and I'm just starting to read the Iliad. What the fuck is going on?
No, I really like, it's like, and people think they're like, oh, you've probably read, like, you know, they'll like name off these books, and it's like, maybe I've read half of them, you know, just because I'm trying. Yeah.
Do you read less now that you're an author? Because I fucking do.
I read so I read a lot as an editor, but it's not books.
Right, gotcha.
I'm going through articles constantly. and it just, like the position that I'm in right now, where it's like I'm, trying to knock out this research for the book I'm working on right now, which involves reading all these books on ISIS, and it's just like, man, it's hard to, you got to balance that with like, okay, I spent 6 hours out of my day, reviewing articles and making edits and story edits and all this other stuff, and then now you have to go into reading and then also find the time to write. It's
so
like
what is your day like? What's your day like then, structure wise? Where'd you fit your writing in and stuff?
Yeah, so right now and it always varies a little bit, just because hey, I got a wife, a kid, and nothing is rigidly adhered to where there's never any variation. But typical day is I wake up about 6:30, make a cup of coffee, immediately go into either reading or storyboarding out kind of these stories that I'm working on for the book. And I kind of give like, hey, from like that 6:30ish time frame to about 9:30 is like, house is still relatively quiet. I can just completely focus on that book, whether it's literally writing or researching or fucking with timelines, just whatever goes into that, right? 9:30, I have my first call of the day with our writers and stuff for Coffee or Die, and that kind of starts the work day there. And then usually I try to, by 5:36ish, carve out some time for dinner, and then hopefully a run. I'm doing this new run program right now that I'm on, so trying to make sure I'm carving out time for that each day. And then by 7:30, back to work on the book for about an hour and a half. And then I try to cap off the day with like a TV show or something like that with my wife, get a little bit of time there before we head to bed. That's kind of the typical, the typical day at home. That's been kind of the schedule during this pandemic. Typically that's severely interrupted by travel and stuff. But while I'm working on the book, I'm going to be severely kind of scaling back how much I travel anyways, just because I need to focus on getting this first draft of this book done and doing Shannon's story justice.
Well, that's it, bro. Like I was saying, just because ghostwriting is, it's a job, but it's a privilege. And so I can't, I've been lucky to do a couple, and, like one of the reasons I only do ghostwriting for military books now is because I like the fact that there's that extra incentive to really tell someone's, do a story justice. But that's really interesting, dude, though, the way you do your thing first thing in the morning, because I'm a big believer in get the most important shit done first thing, particularly creative stuff, because I think once your day starts going on, you start having other things coming in, and you start getting pulled in different directions, it is so hard to get your mind back into that creating something. Because even with even ghostwriting, you're still really you're not quite creating something from nothing, but you're trying to corral in all these different things and put it into, like, life is so bloody messy, and you're trying to pull in all these different threads and put them into a coherent story. That once you start, like, if you've and it doesn't mean that like people thinking maybe, if you've had an argument or something like that. No, just even if you're having a great day, it's very hard to get things back in, because just the way your mind starts going in different directions. I'm a big fan. Anybody that's listening, I'm a big fan. Before bed, your phone goes on airplane mode, and it does not come off of airplane mode until you get your important shit done in the morning. Because once you start seeing a little email here and there, or all that, any of that stuff, then it's so hard to then be back 100% on that track.
Yeah, I mean, I think too, being flexible with the fact that like sometimes your routine does get disrupted, but you still need to get your shit done.
Yes.
Like recognize it. Like last night, like I said, I was up till 4:30 in the morning making these last minute adjustments because I've got a meeting coming up about the book, and as most writers, I'm very self-critical and all this other stuff, and kind of going over this. So I was up till 4:30 in the morning. Had to wake up at 8:30 this morning to kind of get going before my 9:30 meeting. You know what I mean? It's like it wasn't the typical day for me. I'm kind of sucking on sleep right now, but like it is what it is. You still need to get shit done. I got to make that time up tonight now and work on the book tonight. That's
actually a great point. Again, people listening, do not confuse being a writer to being a leisurely, because once you become a professional writer, it is a job. And you have to if you've got aspirations. I had somebody message me the other day. Basically, they'd had 10 rejections and they were giving up. Well, it's a job that you have to be very tenacious with, because one, there's a lot of people that want to do it. So if you're not doing a good job, someone's going to be. It's like the NFL or anything. Someone's going to come in and fucking fill your shoes. So you've got to keep it going. But if you have to treat it like a discipline. There'll be some days. I'm a big fan of Stephen Pressfield, and one of his things is do the work, and it's like you can't just be like, oh, the muse is in me now, and I feel like great, so I'm going to go in and write. If that happens, great, but you might have to sit down. You might have to whatever your word count. I set my minimum. I set as an average 1,000 words a day is the thing. Mm-hmm. And if the day's going well, I might do up to 8,000 words.
Yeah, ride that wave.
There's days where I am crawling over each of those fucking words, and that's been the last kind of week. The variation I've given myself on that now is because I have multiple projects. If I'm really hitting a wall on one of them, I will switch fire to another one.
Yep.
Because sometimes then that will be that'll be what I needed to then get the rhythm going again. But I still got to do that word count.
Yeah.
And if I don't, then I have to look at myself in the mirror and go, you fucked today up. Because you will, and I did. There are days where I don't win every day of the week. There are days where I don't win. But you have to be honest with yourself about that and know that you phoned it in.
Well, it's kind of like the stock market. Hopefully you're winning more days than you're losing, right?
Yeah.
But it's impossible. It is unreasonable to expect that you're going to win every single day, or you're going to come up on top every single day. You're looking for more wins than losses. And really, as a writer, a bad writing day where you got words down is still better than a day where you didn't write at all.
Of course, bro. And here's the thing as well, is when it comes to, if you are winning every day, you're setting your bar too low. That just means if you're hey, got out of bed, one of the things at the moment with people in lockdown, I got out of bed and I put clothes on today, that's not a win. You're not allowed to count that as a win. You have to be realistic with your aspirations. And look, if you want your wins to be getting out of bed and just putting your clothes on, that's fine. But then don't complain that nobody's you have the right. If you're in lockdown right now, you have the right to sit on your ass all day if that's what you want to do. But then don't complain when you come out and the person that's been busting their ass for the last couple of months gets ahead of you. It's just. But if you want to chill. By all means, chill. And I'm a big believer in taking chill time. I really do think that if you feel like you've been so backed up mentally and physically, and that this break you just need to totally chill, then do it. But then also, I'd say use the time to reevaluate where you're going to go next. Because if you do feel like you've needed 2 months to do nothing, then you probably have been doing something wrong before, though.
Well, and 2 months is probably a lot, right? Most working writers can't afford to take 2 months off. And it's one of those things where okay, what other profession gets 2 months off? Well, teachers, I guess, to be fair.
And we know they don't work. I know I have friends that are teachers that listen to this podcast, so that was just a dig at them.
But it's one of those things where, like Stephen Pressfield says, it's I don't take Stephen Pressfield to be the type of guy that probably did take 2 months off. But I'll tell you, me personally, I love the fucking idea of taking 2 months to go fuck off working on filmmaking or another part of storytelling that's still moving me towards where I want to be, but is not necessarily writing per se. That's what a lot of the traveling that I do for Coffee or Die is great for me. It's I get to go out on trips and focus on stuff that isn't necessarily working on writing on a given day, but it's given me a lot of texture. It's letting my mind go somewhere else besides the page. And ultimately I'll come back to that. I think I guess what I'm getting at is, for a lot of people, don't just sit on your ass for 2 months or just completely, find something else to do that will ultimately still play into that ultimate, business plan or op order that you've got to finish that book or progress your writing career.
Yeah. And dude, full disclosure, while I was in the States recently, I did very little writing, but I did as much traveling as I could before the lockdown. And I talked to a lot of people. And I do a lot of observing. I do.
You were still running the podcast, right?
Podcast was still going. I was still doing podcasts. I was still doing meetings. I was
That's
still
what I'm saying,
working
is
on
you were
ideas.
just fucking off.
No,
Yeah.
no, it was just like I was probably like averaging only like 7 or 8 wanks a day. It was like pretty chilled. But no, dude, I agree. There's nothing wrong with whoa, fucking hell. Well, a fucking 14-year-old again with voice break. See what you do to me, mate. You make my voice break. But yeah, it's all right to have chill. There's all right to have chill time. Quick one before we go. Have you seen the movie The Man Who Would Be King?
No, I have not.
I'm recommending it to everyone. It's a Rudyard Kipling story, and then it was made into a film with Sean Connery and Michael Caine.
Really?
I just rediscovered it last night.
Where can I see it?
I got DVD. This is how old it is. I got it on DVD.
Like a physical DVD?
Yeah, a physical DVD. It is brilliant.
What if I only have a VHS player?
Oh, I can't help you, mate. I can't help you. But it's brilliant. Like, he absolutely nails the banter between soldiers, and it's an epic piece of writing. It made me it's like there's some very funny parts in it. Like, some of the banter is brilliant, but it made me so happy as a writer to be watching the work of a master, which Rudyard Kipling is. Well, he is one of the masters. And I just kept saying to my brother, and going, "This is so fucking good." Because I'd seen it, I remember buying that DVD when I was at college. So this would be 15 years ago. I had never written a word of my own creative stuff at that point. And I was like, this is so fucking good. It's brilliant. Highly recommend anyone out there listening to it. I bigged it up on the last podcast we recorded today as well. I'm hammering people with this movie. The Man Who Would Be King. And Sean Connery's whiskers are fantastic.
I mean, Sean Connery he's pretty epic in any capacity. So when you marry him up with Rudyard Kipling, yeah, it's hard to go wrong with that, right?
It's brilliant, bro. Right. Unfortunately, it's time to wrap up, mate. It's so good to see you. The time has absolutely flown by. I miss you. I miss touching you. I just want to hug your big shoulders.
I'm a big boy, yeah.
You are, mate. I love you. I love cuddles with you.
Honestly, really cool to be on with you, and I'm glad that this is my second appearance on your podcast.
No, it's your third.
And is it my third?
Yeah, we did one in the hotel room in.
That's right. The one with Logan.
Yeah, and we did one with Logan.
Yeah, that's right, dude. It's so cool, and I can always tell the effects of being on your podcast, because then I all of a sudden get in a bunch of these UK types popping up on my Instagram. Yeah. So, which I'm psyched about. And it's one of those things that, honestly, like I said, when things start to open back up and I start to travel again, it is kind of cool to know that I've got, a little bit of an international audience, to people potentially linked up with as I'm,
Dude, we have to, there has to be coffee or die stories. Because, I want to give Black Rifle a shout out, because you guys donated a lot of coffee to the British troops in Afghanistan, correct?
Yeah. We have a pretty aggressive campaign to, I guess, caffeinate people that are on the front lines of lately, whatever that may be. I think last month donated something like 20,000 pounds. Don't quote me on that. It was a shit ton. I think it was 20,000 pounds of coffee to frontline medical workers across the country. And I know this month we're doing a big campaign to get some coffee at firehouses. And, that's, as somebody who's spent a lot of time in California, the good work that a lot of those firefighters do out there.
They're amazing year in, year out. I think what you need to do as well is to get it to some frontline podcasters, particularly Veterans Day in mind. Although, to be fair, you did give me a couple of bags when I visited the facility in San Antonio, so I can't complain. You have actually caffeinated me.
Yeah, we've got a video episode coming out though from when we stopped in Nottingham, up in. What is it? Is that considered the East Midlands?
Nottingham, I think so. Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah.
Man. That's where they have the. That's where I went through. That's where you kind of process through if you're a reservist going on deployment. It's just down
really?
It's just down the road. Also, if people want to see it, you and I did an interview together for Coffee or Die, didn't we? We did the 10 questions. So people go to Coffee or Die. In fact, you just tell everyone where you can find you and take this baby home.
Yeah. So definitely. Yeah, definitely check out coffeeordie.com. We've got a lot of really cool stories on there. We've got more than a few really cool tales. Our military history writer, Matt Freitas, he's done a couple of really cool pieces on, former SAS guys in British Command. Have you ever heard of Freddie Spencer Chapman?
Yeah, the name rings a bell. I would be lying if I said I knew his story, but
no, yeah, we got a story on him that it's one of my favorites that we've done. So definitely check out coffeeordie.com. I would say probably the YouTube page as well. We've got like a pretty legit web series going at this point. That's where they can find
your content looks amazing. Like it looks amazing. Like every time I see it, it's guys jumping out the back of planes in HD, and I'm all about that.
Yeah, and that's where they can find that interview with you. It's called 11 Questions in a Cup of Coffee. We've got kind of like a recurring series there. We're on all the social media things at at Coffee or Die Mag, and I'll kind of pimp myself here too a little bit. Follow me if you like aggressively mediocre Instagram content and spicy Twitter takes at Marty Skovlund Jr. You're gonna have to write that out or put it in the link or something, because my name, it's like one of those fucking long, weird Nordic,
It used to best me, but like this is why now we're on the time 3. Like I have actually got it down because it used to get me. But I will link everything in the notes, and then when I'll tag you up in all the social media-y kind of stuff. But bro, thanks so much for coming on. My bladder is about to burst, so I'm going to quickly run off screen. Mate, I love you, and I hope to catch you soon. Cheers,
thanks,
mate.
man. Well, yep, bye.
Thanks, brother. Bye.
All right, guys. That was fun. Thank you so much, Mike. Thank you so much, Marty, for coming on. And if you're sitting at home right now, noble listeners, and you're like, wow, I really, really, really appreciate guys doing that podcast. I wonder if there's some way that I could repay the favour for him. Well, it's funny you should say that, noble listener, because there is. June the 11th, Brothers in Arms, paperback. If you could pre-order it, if you could pick up a copy, I would be much obliged to you, good sirs and ma'ams, or whatever pronoun you want to use. You will pre-order my book or use whatever fucking pronoun you want. But if you can't, if you haven't got the pennies, I understand that. I love you unconditionally. And that in itself should probably mean that you go and buy the book, because I'm not a nice guy, aren't I? No, guys, thank you so much. Thank you so much for what you do. Please, please, please spread the word. Tell a friend if you enjoyed today's episode. Bring a mucker along. Make a post if you could, if you got the time. We'd really, 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 really appreciate it. Who have we got on next? On Thursday, we have my friend Scott Davidson. He's from the United States, and he has a charity known as Burbeers. We're going to get into it. He's a veteran of Iraq, and I really enjoyed it. We've already recorded the episode. It's a good one. You're going to want to come to it. Well, you might want to come to it, you dirty buggers, but you're definitely going to want to come and listen to it. We'll catch you then. Until then, guys, please love each other, respect each other, and you know what? Love yourself too. It's okay. Give yourself a bit of self-love. Fucking hell. I might as well just entitle this the wanking outro. Just go and have a wank, you fuckers. And we'll catch you on Thursday. Love you guys. Bye.
Yeah. Listen. Shout out Teaser. You told me not to worry, and you wouldn't break my heart. You told me you were sorry, yeah, my whole world fell apart. You said it's not my fault, and yeah, I've never done you wrong. I'm grinding to a halt, now I can see you're moving on. I promised I'd get better, and I told you things would change. You keep me to the gutter, yeah, I'll never be the same. I've gotta let you go, now live your life and spread your wings. And yeah, you put on quite a show, and pulled the puppet strings. And are you sure that you don't want me? Remember all the pain, or maybe you should thank me. It's your loss and my gain. I'm leaving now forever, I won't hang my head in shame. But yeah, you've taken me for granted, and you should feel ashamed. You sold a dream to all of us, a dream that we'd all die for, a reason for us all to live and something we could fight for. I might just help a man up to his feet or hold a newborn, but no matter what I do, my hands remembering my rifle, yeah.
Life's hard, I know that, still wouldn't change shit. I wouldn't go back, yeah, I wouldn't go back. Feelings I hold back, memories fade, yeah, they go fast, yeah, they go fast. Good times that come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah, I suppose. Good times that come and go, survive the highs and lows, just take it step by step, I guess, yeah.